back.
Hi, Tori.
Hey, Brooke.
How are you? Been a long time.
I know. We haven't sat at this table for a long
know.
time. I don't even know when our last episode podcast was.
It's too long ago.
Definitely
Too
now
long
we
ago.
have things to talk about, though. We're
Yes,
excited
we
to
gave
dive
it
in.
some time. I know. And today I have some good things for you. One is very exciting, and two are breakups. But
Okay.
I think we start with the good news first. I'm sure you've heard, unless you've been living under a rock. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged.
Yes.
Yay.
I didn't predict that, actually. I thought a lot of people said they were going to get engaged, and I was always on the team, I don't know if they will.
Well, I didn't think now because she's releasing a new album. And,
Oh, she is?
Yeah, and I feel like that
yeah.
would... Tori.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. My stepdaughter is a huge Taylor
I
Swift
know,
fan. I don't know how I'm not keeping up, but there's just a lot of news going around all the time in our house about Taylor Swift, and I can't
So it's just
keep
like,
track.
I have to pick, you
Yes. Okay.
know. So she has a new album coming out. She announced it on his podcast.
Okay.
And then people think that they got engaged right after that, like same day. And so he was using the podcast filming to get everything set up, which I think is really cute.
Interesting. So he was distracting her.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
You know, love a guy who can plan.
It was
like
a cute
this.
engagement, right? They did all the florals.
Yeah, and that's at their house, apparently. So
Oh.
they were filming, and then they were getting everything prepared at the house. And
That's
then
cute.
That's nice.
That's really cute.
And I'm not,
I saw the ring
big-
too. I did think I like her ring design. How it's like I don't know what it's officially called, but
I like that it's unique.
Yeah.
It's not what I expected. It almost looks a little bit like a Super Bowl ring to me. Have you seen what those look like?
yeah,
They're pretty chunky.
it's chunky. It's a chunky one, but
I like it's unique.
I like it.
Yeah, doing something different.
I feel like you're saying unique in a way that
No.
suggests you maybe don't like it.
It's not necessarily for me, but I
Yeah.
actually really do appreciate doing something
her.
other than
Yes.
the tiny little band
Yeah.
with the huge ring that
Yes.
Haley Bieber has.
Yes.
This is I really do appreciate. I feel like now I'm trying to sell it so much that
No,
it's
no,
coming
I
off
hear what you're
fake.
saying. I hear what you're
Like, no, I
saying.
really do like it.
I really like a ring.
But I thought it would be interesting to talk about them. Obviously, they're not breaking up or divorcing, but getting married. And so
Yes.
we should talk about prenups.
Yes.
Prenups, I know some people hear them and think they're they're unromantic, and you shouldn't be thinking about your divorce at the time that you're getting married. And I actually think that is the perfect time to be thinking about divorce, because you should be marrying someone that would treat you well during a divorce.
Yes.
And I think that's important, and not enough people are thinking about that.
Yes.
And I think prenups can help figure that out and just
Yes.
make it clear to everyone what's going on.
Yeah.
Here are my assets, here are yours.
Yeah.
Even if you're not changing any of the law, I think it's a really helpful step in just
Yeah.
being clear about what's your separate property.
Yeah.
And
I always think, I tell clients, it's getting conversations started and getting a knowledge of, the reality is you're entering into a contract.
Right.
So now you kind of know what your contract is, and then you have this power to modify it and make it work for you and your unique situation. And I don't know, it's important conversations to have.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I know it's not romantic to say, but when you're getting married, like you said, it's a contract.
Yeah.
It's also kind of like you're entering into a business.
Yeah.
And would you merge your business without having any insight into their financials or what
Yeah.
what you're going to be taking on potentially?
Yeah.
So maybe I'm overselling prenups, but I do think they're good.
I do think they're good. I do agree the process can be a bit, I don't want to use the word awkward, because I've had couples that they are totally on the same page. There's no issues. And then there are times where it's like, oh, I'm thinking X and you're thinking Y, and then we have to, how do we merge these two things?
Merge? And
without,
how do I feel heard? And how do you feel heard?
Yes,
and
without that being, and I almost tell my clients, because we represent their interests, I'm like, put two caps on almost. I don't know if that helps, but
I think it helps.
I don't know.
You have to shift your mind a little bit because it is a little different than wedding planning.
Yes.
But so they got engaged in Missouri, and I guess they live in Missouri. He plays for Kansas City.
Okay.
I don't know. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the differences between California rules for prenups and Missouri rules for prenups. I also learned some interesting things. So California, our prenup statutes are based on the Uniform Premarital Agreement Act, or they're somewhat based off of that.
Okay.
And that is sort of like the idea where if you get custody orders in one state, they'll be enforced in another.
Okay.
And, things like that. So they have that for prenups as well. Not every state is a signatory or have adopted it, but California has. And basically what that says is if there's a valid prenup from another state and you get divorced in California, California will recognize
Your
prenup. Which is good. It's good because
Yes, we like that.
Yeah,
we like
it
when
should
there's
be-
some uniform consistency.
we do.
That's helpful for our job.
Yes. So the most interesting thing that I learned about the differences, well, actually, let me tell the viewers, the things that I think of when I think of California prenups.
Okay.
One, it has to be written, kind of goes without saying, has to be signed by both parties, has to be voluntary. It is strongly suggested that you have independent counsel, but there are ways to do it without independent counsel, which I'll talk about a little bit more. You have to have full disclosure of the other side's property, debts, income, and just financial
Overall
status.
Yeah. Yes.
You can technically waive that, but again,
You might run into issues with enforceability later.
exactly. And then what I think is really unique to California, at least it's unique to California as compared to Missouri, is the mandatory 7-day waiting period, which means you need to have the prenup for the final draft for 7 days before you sign it. And you have to sign it before your wedding.
date.
So obviously you need to have it minimum a full week before you're getting married, if you're okay signing it on your wedding day, which maybe don't leave it to that late. Just get it done early if you can.
People do, though.
People do. If you're thinking about getting a prenup, I think the most important thing is to start early. It can take a little bit more time, and like I said, there's
a negotiation process, and naturally, again, like I said, even if you are on the same page, you might find once lawyers are involved, we might have some advice or knowledge to give that might shift perspectives and make
it's our
there
job
more
to give
discussion.
them,
Yes,
right.
yes.
It's our job to tell them, everything to think about, and you wouldn't know that as a layperson.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And then, so I know I just said that you should have independent counsel. You don't necessarily need it. If you're doing a spousal support waiver, you have to have independent counsel in order to waive that. Additionally, the waiver cannot be unconscionable at the time of enforcement. So even if you sign something and it's, totally valid.
Is it just the waiver, or is it the spousal support provision as a whole?
That's interesting. I thought it was just the waiver, but I think it must be all spousal support because this is a newer provision.
The Pendleton case,
Yeah, so this is newer, so maybe I need to read a little bit
No,
more
no,
closely.
I was curious.
It would seem like it should be.
I think it's across. I think it's all spousal support.
Any provision,
So
yeah.
if waiver, or let's say you're like setting a cap, time or duration or amount, I think that also.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit broader, actually.
Yeah, because even if when you and I are getting married and you're making $1 million a year, and so you say that you'll give me $1 million as spousal support or something, but then we divorce and you have gone bankrupt, it would be unconscionable to require you to pay me $1 million.
Yeah.
So I think it does.
Yeah, well, the Pendleton case specifically was that he took all the property under the prenup, and then the spousal provision was like basically no money. I mean, it was very minimal. And so the court said, well, this is clearly not a fair contract. So, anyways, I think I digressed. I was just curious because I've been telling people.
I think it is everything. You're
okay.
right. You're right. I think you're right. And then, as we know, you cannot include provisions regarding child custody and child support because that's going to be based off of the best interest of the child at the time of the divorce.
How many times do your premarital clients ask you that? Would you say like 9 times out of 10?
Yeah.
Me too.
Which I do understand because if I had children or were getting married and thinking about having children, I would just want everything figured out beforehand.
It's like kind of one of the things that's on your forefront of your mind. Like when you're going to get married and you're starting a family, you're thinking like child support, child custody. So I think it's interesting because clients do ask that almost every single time.
I get it too because, we see a lot of conflict around custody. And it might be helpful in certain cases to have this all figured out before whatever happened to break up the marriage happened.
Yeah, I was wondering if we want to touch base just for the viewers on why you can't have it in a premarital agreement.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the best interest of the child standard. What I say to clients is, the court, we don't have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen in the future. And when it concerns the child, we don't know what's going to be at the best interest of the child at that time.
Exactly.
So the court wants to look at that in real time That's how I view it or explain it. I don't know if that matches what you say, but
I think I'm going to steal the crystal ball.
Because I say in theory, like maybe some party under the prenup would have full custody, but what if something happens or they're not capable of caring for the child? There could be so many things that occur. So the court has basically done away with people contracting for that, and then custody and support are so dependent that without having custody, we don't know support, and so they just need to do it in real time.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. So the big differences between California rules and Missouri rules there's a couple. So first, California has that 7-day waiting period. Missouri doesn't.
You can sign day of?
I guess you can sign day of. So Taylor, go ahead and sign the day of and you're fine. It's interesting. They say that the timing could come up later with enforcement if you're trying to show duress. So I had to sign it the day of the wedding, and I, was under all this pressure, and so that's how they might look into it. But there's no mandatory waiting period. Whereas in California, we have the mandatory waiting period, and if you don't have that, it's not a valid prenup. The requirement for independent counsel. I know I said it's advised in California, but it's required if there's a spousal support waiver. Mm-hmm. In Missouri, there's not that requirement. Period.
You can not have independent counsel. Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's counsel is advisable, but optional.
That's so interesting. It's almost night and day.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
it's disclosure of finances are basically the same. There's some nuances about waiving your right to that, but they're similar. And then this is what I thought was really interesting: the voluntariness of the prenup. So California, the agreement is presumed involuntary unless statutory safeguards are met. So, the timing and blah, blah, blah. And then in Missouri, it's valid unless proven involuntary. So it's, the
inverse. Yes, yeah.
It probably gets you to the same place.
Yes, but
it's just interesting how they think about it. And then the unconscionability. So you were talking about the Pendleton case, which changed things in California. And so the prenup cannot be unconscionable at the time of execution, but for spousal support, it can't be unconscionable at the enforcement either.
In Missouri?
No, here.
Yes, okay. I was going to say that's the same as here, so I was curious if it's Missouri. Okay, gotcha.
And so for Missouri, the agreement is unenforceable if unconscionable when executed, and the later unfairness is irrelevant. But we know that Pendleton is somewhat recent.
Pendleton's very recent. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if people follow suit.
Yeah, and it makes
people
sense.
By people I mean states.
Yeah. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest difference that I found. So interestingly, it seems like she has it'll be
the requirements are easier
in Missouri.
Yes.
But if I were Taylor, I'd probably maybe go with the California strictness.
Well, in general, you always want to do with premarital agreements. I think the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Procedural requirements you can meet and go above to show the voluntariness of the agreement is better.
I agree.
And if you have good attorneys, they should have language in the premarital agreement that speaks to that. And I'm sure they will have excellent attorneys who represent them. If they're even going to have a premarital agreement, I guess we can't presume, but
I'm going to presume.
They most likely will. I think it'll be interesting. No one will ever have eyes on it or see what happens, but I don't know. Is Missouri community property? How does I don't know.
Probably should have looked that up.
No, it's fine. I just was curious about intellectual property and her music rights because that has been such a...
She just bought it all back. It's so important to her. So that's one of the reasons I think she's definitely going to get a prenup.
Yeah,
her entire net worth is based off of, her life's work, which actually that sounds silly. Everyone's a lot of people's net worth is based off of their life's work, but I think it's very different when it's something so personal.
Well, it's someone like her and I don't mean to downplay his career. I know he's a good football player, but I don't know anything about football.
I guess he's good.
I guess he won the Super Bowl, right? Didn't they win the Super Bowl? Okay, so he's very good.
No, he's really good.
Okay.
I think he's really good.
I don't know. We're not qualified.
I think he's getting older in his career,
gotcha.
So it's, but he...
Well, that's another point, too. Like, is he getting older and going to retire? And if they are community property, right, then he's not maybe having the same earning.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so many considerations when you look at individual situations, and so much of what she's earned is going to predate their marriage. But also continue to have earnings that go into the marriage because we all know that those songs are playing on the radio.
I would
Spotify,
not want to be
every
that
single day.
forensic accountant.
No, like how complicated that would be, and just, but yeah, it's always I would love to see every celebrity's premarital agreement. That is my idea of a good time. I want to sit down and read everybody's
You want to know
premarital
something
agreements.
funny? I did read a celebrity's prenup. I can't obviously say who, and it was written very poorly.
You know what? I bet they are written very poorly.
It was incentivizing divorce, which
yes,
you know,
I feel like they are written poorly. Probably.
To be clear, I guess I probably should have mentioned this to begin with. The prenup can't incentivize divorce. So, and this one really did. It said something like, if they divorce, I can't remember what, but I just read it and was like,
wait a minute.
Doesn't seem right. We should not do that.
I know. Drafting premarital agreements is kind of an art. Do you find that when you are drafting, like, from, I guess, the attorney's perspective, it's like, I feel like we're taking something so abstract in a way because clients have these questions about, like, well, what if this happens? And it's so abstract, right? And it's hard for everybody. It's hard for, well, obviously we have the legal knowledge and so we can do it, but I do find sometimes, like,
I think sometimes people come to us and they want us to basically have a crystal ball and figure out what's going to happen in the future and how we can plan for that. And while we can do certain
the best
planning,
we can,
at the end of the day, not everything can be contracted. And also, you know your situation better. And I'm here to help you with creative solutions, but we're not going to know everything.
Yes.
And I think that's sometimes hard.
You worded it exactly what I was trying to communicate. Thank you.
That's why we're a good team.
But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I wonder when they're going to get married. Like if it's going to be far out or what.
Well, I would imagine it's not during football season, so that'll be until fall. February.
Okay.
Yeah, if he makes it to the Super Bowl.
Is she touring again?
Well, she has this album coming out, but she just ended a pretty big tour, so I don't know.
My stepdaughter told me that she thinks she's going to retire because she's getting to an age where she's going to have kids and stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
I could see it. I just don't. I could never really see her fully retire.
That's what I said to her. I'm like, no, she's going to be like a Beyonce. She's going to bring those kids on tour.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if she'll do, the Eras tour again, and maybe that was but I couldn't. I mean, she's releasing an album, and she's doing all the promotion for it, and it's, it's not a small surprise album like,
it's just
Folklore
funny, like
Willow.
I think of Taylor Swift because I listened to her as a teenager, so I still think of her as like a teenager in my mind.
Oh yeah, she became popular when I was in like freshman in high school. I think. So we kind of.
It's even like the other day, our song, my stepdaughter was playing it for me.
Oh,
She's
I know
like,
every single word.
Do you know this one? I'm like, do I know this one?
Do you know this one?
I know.
I'm excited though because I think obviously she's much more public with him than she's been with other boyfriends. So I think we'll like actually get to see the wedding dress.
Yeah,
which is exciting.
It'll be interesting to see if she decides to put things like in a more public forum.
Because I was surprised she announced the engagement the way she did. I mean, that seemed very fan servicey in a very nice way. You know, let people be a part of it.
Yes,
good for her. Yeah. So we wish her luck.
Yeah, and it's exciting for them.
Yeah. If you need any help on the prenup,
Schweitzer Law Partners.
We're right here.
We're not Missouri, but we're
not
here.
Missouri, but maybe you want it in California. Okay, the next. So that was our big story, our happy one. I have two smaller things for you. First, I was unaware of this. Post Malone has a child.
I didn't know that either. Is it a boy or girl? Not that that's relevant to what we're discussing. I'm just curious.
That's so funny. Daughter.
Daughter.
3-year-old
daughter. Okay.
I feel like we should bring David in on this one because he knows about Post Malone, but we'll go ahead. You just let us know if something's wrong.
If you want to trade me seats, David.
Okay, so this is interesting because they just filed for, I believe this is the first filing for both. Okay. Actually, I know it is because the issue is jurisdiction.
Okay.
Post Malone says that Utah is the correct forum because that's where the child lives. I guess that's where he lives.
Okay.
And he filed it, and then 2 days later, he filed his request for custody, and 2 days later, she then filed in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So we know there's a jurisdictional
conflict.
issue.
Yes, yeah.
This has now been worked out, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So in California, to file for paternity in California, the child has to have been in California for 6 months, and then it has to have been in the county that you're filing in for 3 months. Mm-hmm. So it really shouldn't be that complicated. The child either lived in Utah or lived in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Utah requirements are, but I would imagine they're very similar.
I feel like I should know because I'm from Utah, but I didn't study law in Utah. I didn't take the bar there.
You're not filing for
custody
in Utah?
Yeah, I don't know. In fact, I have friends and family from Utah who always ask me legal advice. I'm I'm like, I don't know how they're doing it there, but I can tell you how they do it here,
Yeah,
and
come
it's
here,
not
I'll help
relevant
you.
at all probably to your situation. So yeah, I don't know what their jurisdictional requirements are, but it's interesting because you do see this when families are, the word isn't bi-coastal, like I guess is it bi-coastal, bi-state? I don't know.
Bi-coastal if you're on the coast.
Yes.
Multi-state.
If you live in different states or you split your time, then there might be some room for confusion. Or let's say they lived primarily in Utah, but then maybe they recently moved to California. Then the question becomes, well, where is, I can see how for the layperson, it doesn't work out as simple as like, oh, it's 6 months or 3 months, because we all know we live in real life and there's practical considerations. And so maybe they lived part-time here or part-time in Utah. I don't know the specifics of their situation.
Yeah,
but
it's a good point. So ultimately, she dismissed her filing in Los Angeles. So it looks like Utah was the proper place, or maybe she just didn't want to fight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, there are obviously differences between Utah and California family law.
Yeah.
I know we said that you have to live 3 months in the county. So I've seen situations where they lived in one county and then the parent, after they separated, moved to another county. And so that makes a little more, not more sense, but I see that more often than 2 states.
Yeah.
But in that case, it does matter, obviously, but it almost doesn't matter because you're still applying California family law, regardless of what county you're in California. But then when you're comparing California family law to Utah, there are differences. And
you could have totally different legal ramifications.
The amount of support that you can get in Utah for a child is less than what you would get in California.
Oh, is that true?
Mm-hmm. So I wonder.
Do they have a guideline formula like we do, but it just is a...
I'm not sure how they calculate it. I just know it caps out.
Oh, interesting.
And so from my brief reading on Utah law, it seems like she would have benefited from having had
I wonder if that
California.
was a strategic decision she made with her attorney for child support purposes, especially considering Post Malone is
very well.
Post Malone.
Well, it's similar to Elon Musk, who has a lot of children.
I don't even know how many.
I know.
Point.
I wanted to say the number, and I don't know.
I think it's 12, but I could be wrong.
We might not even know.
Someone can fact check that.
But he lives in Texas, and Texas has very low support.
Okay, so I heard that if you have 10 or more kids, that you don't have to pay child support for all the kids.
In Texas?
No,
or
here.
Here?
So I don't know where. I should know this because I'm an attorney. I need to research this more. I have not had a client with 10 or more kids, so it's not been relevant. But I have heard that it caps and you don't have to pay child support after a certain number of kids, and that might be the incentive to have so many kids.
That's crazy.
I don't know. That could be wrong.
We should look it up.
I now will look it up, and I'll know for the future if I ever have a client with that
tomorrow
many
you're going to
kids.
get a client with
Exactly.
12
That's
kids.
exactly what happened.
Okay, so I just thought that was a little bit interesting, the different jurisdictions, and why people might do
just
that.
the considerations. And you can consult with legal counsel, and they can advise you, what makes the most sense, even county-wise, right? Like we sometimes say you want to file in this county for this judge in particular, or because you have more selection of judges, or convenience even. Yeah.
Okay, and my last, this is a very small one. I don't know, this one might not even be worth it, David, but okay.
Let's do it. Let's see.
Okay, so then I want to talk about Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, who unfortunately have...
I was really sad to hear that they split.
It seemed like they got each other. They lived in, Montecito and had a little baby.
Orlando Bloom is like my celebrity crush.
Is it from, like, Legolas or...
No, like his Pirates era.
Yeah. Of course. Duh. That is a better era, I'll be honest. I remember, I was not into Lord of the Rings. I'll just
I was going to say, I honestly haven't even seen Lord of the Rings, so I can't say.
I have had to see it because certain people in my life are
have
really
forced
like
you.
it.
It's one of those, yes.
No, Anton takes it so seriously that when I think we first saw The Hobbit and I didn't take it seriously enough, and he moved seats because I was laughing.
He was like, no, this is a
He's like, this is a serious movie. And he didn't even like it that much. So God
sometimes
forbid
things like that don't translate well. Like sometimes books are meant to stay books, I don't know. I'm not saying that's true.
Honestly,
for
they're
Lord of
kind
the
of
Rings.
fine. They're fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It just
You know what? In Lord of the Rings, he has the white
long, and he's very
Okay.
just like
I have a crush on him in both. I'll leave it at that.
he's almost like the exact opposite. He's like very clean and like pure. He's a little elf in Lord of the Rings, and then in Pirates, he's like a
He still plays like the good guy,
swashbuckling.
but yeah,
he's the good guy in both of them, but different good guys.
Yeah.
So they were engaged, but they were never married.
Okay.
And so I thought we could talk about what they might need to legally do to separate. There might be some property stuff that they have to deal with because the court's not going to have jurisdiction over, whatever property they've acquired because they were never married.
Yes.
And so they would be filing a paternity case to get custody and support, and that's pretty much what they're limited to.
Unless they had something like what we call a Marvin agreement
That's
in
true,
place,
yeah.
which is basically I'm not intimately familiar with Marvin agreements because we don't see them come up a lot, but the idea is that you kind of establish through living together some property rights. But they're challenging and they're not often seen and enforceable. But
and you know what? That's also that's a civil matter.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be separate than
yes,
the paternity.
even in family court, yeah. But yes, they would have to file a petition for paternity, like you said, child support. It's always interesting to see like how these things play out because I've seen that since they separate, they still do things with their daughter.
Well, and I haven't seen that they've filed anything.
Yeah.
So maybe it's an amicable situation where they don't. I would still think they should get something.
That's what we tell all clients, right? Like you want something. Here's the idea: you want order so that you can follow those orders when things are not going well. But that doesn't mean you're stuck following those orders. You have flexibility to co-parent, and that's always the goal is to co-parent and have flexibility.
Yeah.
But the orders are there to provide some guidance so that when something does come up, it's not a fire alarm running to the court. You have something to kind of
rely on.
Refer back to.
Refer back to is the right way.
Yes.
Because I know I've had some clients where they think they can't deviate from the custody schedule. And I say, no, it's, you guys can come to an agreement and, go around, and if it makes more sense for you to pick up the child today instead of him, you can work together. And that's the goal. That's what you'd want to do. You don't want to have something super rigid, but
and I
sometimes
think
it's needed.
people don't need to be told that the courts actually look upon that with favor. Yeah, they appreciate when parties are co-parenting well, and they're real judges are real people in the real practical world, so they understand that things come up that aren't going to necessarily always fall under the orders. I guess the only thing I would ever say to clients is like, if it's 5 years has passed and you're doing a totally different custody schedule, then you have to understand that that's going to not be, when you go to court, the court will consider that, of course, that you guys haven't even been following
the orders as
right. Like they're going to look at what you guys have actually been doing. Yes. But, flexibility, and that's always the goal. So it's great if they're able to do that and keep it. I know that I know a lot about him, apparently. I know that him and his first wife, Miranda Kerr, they have a son, they co-parent together beautifully. And I know that she was friends with Katy Perry, and they all co-parented together. So hopefully they can take that same, spirit and transfer it and do the same thing. That's what we like to see too, as family law attorneys, is good co-parenting, and it's not always easy to do. So it's great when people can.
Yeah. So good luck to them, and good on them. Proud of you.
Yeah,
Orlando.
exactly. And I think that's it today, right?
It.